or advertisers. Vision Communications Incorporated is not responsible for the validity or accuracy of information presented on this program. Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Norman Shealy and Dr. Sergey Leo Shealy-Sorin. Get the health answers you need from the creator of holistic medicine and the 2020 Holistic Doctor of the Year. To be a part of today's show, call 417-447-1777. Wellness Wednesday. Now, here are your hosts, Dr. Norman Shealy and Dr. Sergey Leo Shealy-Sorin.
Hello. So we're on. Fantastic. We almost had another technology incident here just about seconds before we got started. So, hey, I think this is meant to be. Amen. All right. Robin, as long as you tell us that we're good, I'm going to announce the topic of the show. Healthy lifestyle and how to get there, the practical step-by-step approach. And with us today is, of course, the one and only Dr. Norm Shealy, the founder of the Shealy-Sorin Wellness System. Actually, Shealy System became evolved. And how many books have you written on?
40.
And in how many books do you talk about lifestyle?
40.
Well, that's exactly it. And there's a huge section of lifestyle in each of those books because it's essential. Now, Rachel, she is. We're very fortunate. We're actually absolutely. It's wonderful to have you here on the radio as well as in the practice.
Well, thank you for having me.
And you were here actually on the last radio program, and we at that point we talked about, I believe, something on the topic of why do some people fail versus succeed in a holistic approach, in a healthy approach. And so we talked about all of that, the pros and the cons. So today, the radio, I'd like to focus on the positive. Let's come out of the why people fail and into the light. And the light here is how to succeed using practical, realistic steps. And Dr. Shealy and I always talk about lifestyle as the foundation. So Rachel, take it away.
So one of the things that we talked about, now we're going to learn how to build the foundation, create the healthy, holistic lifestyle. And one of the key pieces, I believe, is education, which is why Dr. Shealy has written 40 books about being healthy and how to have a holistic lifestyle, because people need that little piece of information to put it all together. So education is huge. We are wired to feel like we need a because, and we need a why, and we need an explanation. And when people have that background, then it helps us to take action. I don't know, have we ever talked about the Xerox study, the famous copy machine study?
No, we haven't.
So this study was really interesting because it just proves how we are wired for the because. What they did was researchers had people stand in line at a copy machine. They'd have one person ask if they could interrupt, and they say, "Excuse me, can I interrupt? Can I butt in line?" 64% of people would let them, and then the other percentage would say no. When they did it again, and they had the person say, "Excuse me, can I butt in line because I'm in a hurry?" 94% of people would let them cut in line. So then they thought, maybe it's just the word because. Maybe it's just people feeling like they need an explanation. So they did the last time, and they had the person go say, "Excuse me, may I butt in line because I need to make some copies?" Which everybody's in line to make copies, but 93% of the people let them butt in line because we are wired for the because. We need that educational piece to understand why we're doing what we're doing.
So if I want to, get somebody to do something, I'll just use the word because.
Yes, but don't say because I said so. It never works for the parents. They need to feel like a real because, even if it's not a real because. So I mean, when we create a holistic lifestyle, I think education is huge, hugely important. But even with the education, we still need the step by step. And so that's where I think tracking metrics and looking at everything as a whole, but starting with one piece is important. I don't particularly think there's one piece that's more important than another, but maybe Dr. Shealy has an opinion on that.
I don't have an opinion on that. However, I would ask the 5 things that Seth of excited about. life, danger to life, a disability, a handicap, poverty, perceived lack of love, and existential, the why question.
The why question.
See,
yes.
we all want answers.
Yes.
We need a because.
And those are the 5 things that concern the most of the population, literally, or the fears or the concerns. And how we deal with those fears and concerns is the key, because this is what this is all about. This is our
Yes.
stress management card. Yeah.
Anxiety, depression, anger, and guilt.
And you know what? I think sometimes people have a lot of anxiety about where do I start with embracing a holistic lifestyle. There's just a lot to do.
Yeah.
So I think that you can look at all the metrics, because I think tracking metrics is very helpful. You know, the best measure of progress is progress. What would you think would be one important metric to track that you have found maybe helpful for yourself? Dr. Sorin?
For me, weight.
Okay.
The weight, for example. So right now I'm in my ideal weight category, where for my training level. I mean,
Right.
we're taking it up a notch or two
Sure.
in this level of the program now. So that's awesome. But at this point, I've achieved what I wanted to achieve, which is I'll just say the numbers between 175 and 180 in terms of pounds, and then certain percent body weight in fat and otherwise. So I am exactly where I could be under the optimal conditions of what I'm able to do right now. So to me, that's one.
I'm really glad you said weight, because
Please, yeah.
that's a good one for a lot of people, but it's also one a lot of people get hung up on.
True.
And so there's, if you know your weight is an issue, sometimes is not the best place to put your focus. There are other ways to track health and improvement. We could look at sleep. We can look at bowel movements, because that eventually that matters for your weight. But we don't have to get you on a scale every day. We can start looking at things. How is your digestive health doing? Are you getting the nutrients that you need? So there's a lot of different ways to track and measure health. You don't have to do them all, and you have to pick ones that will put you in a healthy mindset.
And you need to exercise.
Absolutely.
A minimum of an hour a day.
Yep, that's the best recommendation, obviously. Now let's talk about exercise, because Dr. Shealy, you're very adamant about exercise, and you have been your whole life. Now, Rachel, in your experience, what, as a personal trainer, as a life coach, what is the most difficult part? Where do people get stuck, bottleneck? Exercise, movement, it seems so natural. It feels good to move. Why don't people do it?
You know what? Hey, we had a patient today that we actually had a meeting with, that she gave us the whole thing with the bottleneck is often, like we talked about, the self-talk with today it was, it's too hot, it's too humid. So you have to change the self-talk. You have to figure out how to negotiate with yourself in a way that says, I will only go outside for 5 minutes. I will only do this. And then it could work. It could become a full hour, couldn't it, Dr. Shealy?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. By the way, this is exactly what she said, and I wrote this down. My favorite new quote, by the way: "My get up and go has gone up, out, and went."
Yeah.
Anyway, that was fantastic. I appreciate the moments of truth and honesty, and that's what it is.
Yeah. And the goal is to build to making exercise a daily part of your lifestyle. But if we have patients that have really never consistently exercised their whole life. We don't expect them to start with 1 hour a day every day. We expect them to start somewhere small and build up to that over time, being kind to themselves. So we don't want them, feeling bad because they only did 10 minutes today. Well, that's 10 more minutes than they were doing. So this is wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's always important to remember that it's never, wherever we are in life, is not just a singular point. It's not good or bad or whatever other judgment. It's in relation to where you're coming from. It's in relation to your ultimate outcome, what you'd like to see achieve in your life. And if you're there, fantastic. That's what it's all about. If you're living your best life, whatever that may mean to you, that's it. You got it. If you're don't feel like you're living your best life and your best full potential, then the question is why? What is stopping you, and what is the most essential bottleneck in that whole process? And ultimately, what it comes down to is not the fancy stuff. It's not all the fancy drugs that the pharmaceutical industry produces. 6 drugs, 5, 6 drugs for blood pressure, and it still doesn't work. Again, self-regulation or lack of. But there is a bigger point. Without the basic foundation of health and human essential lifestyle, and there's more to lifestyle that will continue, you got nothing. You got nothing. It's like a house that has no base, no foundation. You can build a great structure on top. It's just going to crumble and fall down at the earliest opportunity.
And so if we're trying to build a base, we're going to build it one brick at a time. So sometimes you have to pick your brick. Okay. So does that need to be better sleep? Does that need to be changing your food intake? Does that need to be focusing on mood, energy levels, exercise? You need to, my advice is to pick one and start with a 1% improvement. And a 1% building on 1%, building on another 1%, eventually where do you end up? 100%. But you have to start somewhere.
Absolutely. One of my favorite statements, every 1,000-mile journey begins with a single step.
That is absolutely true. Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the practical ways that people have succeeded, because let's keep this positive.
Okay.
Let's talk about some of your personal
let's talk about
stories. Actually, please.
No, you go ahead.
No. Dr. Shealy, I was going to say, just something came to mind. You have your story, your life, your fitness, your lifestyle this is what I would call something to be desired, impeccable, amazing. Now you've been doing this for decades, multiple decades, and
Age 12.
age 12. So to you, how difficult is it to do these healthy things?
Not at all difficult.
Yep. Would it be difficult for you to do unhealthy things?
Yes.
See, there you go. So would it be difficult for you to, for example, to be sedentary or do no exercise?
Absolutely. Age 12, I took up Charles Atlas
Mm.
on the back of every comic book from age 12. I ordered on the internet 12 exercises, and I've never given them up.
Wonderful.
This guy has a foundation you could build a skyscraper on.
Oh, God. Rachel, let's talk about you, your story, but perhaps some of the clients.
Okay, yeah. I mean, let's talk about clients because that's just kind of fresher in my brain right now. But
Sure.
So one of the things that we do to help kind of build success and start success is the freshest one in my mind right now is I was talking to one and they have a really nice daily affirmation about being healthy and whole and full of energy. And I love it, but it's not actionable. So we kind of talked about how do we break that down into a daily actionable step? How do we build the foundation to create that healthy, vibrant, energetic human being? And this particular person, we are working on fiber intake. So we're increasing fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds and just healthy foods. And we're tracking that every day, a certain amount. I eat X amount of this every day. And we're seeing results. It's already, there's that actionable daily step we can take to put it into play to make the big picture.
But that's what I'm seeing right now. That's the genius of that. You actually, instead of that big broad statement, which is, let's repeat that word, not actionable.
Right.
What does that mean? Non-actionable versus actionable. Let's talk about the distinction.
Right. Saying I am is a wonderful thing. That's a great way to put it out there into the universe. But then we have to figure out what do we do to become the I am. And you know, every wonderful masterpiece, painting, building, you know, every painting started with a brush stroke. And it took hundreds or thousands of brush strokes to make the giant masterpiece. So it's one thing at a time.
Now, you work with clients one-to-one, face-to-face, but also remotely.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is it difficult to work with a life coaching, and we're talking holistic life coaching via remotely, I should say?
No, honestly, we're doing the same things. It's just we don't get the face to face. So, I can't go in with a tape measure and do their measurements, but I trust them to do it on their own. I show them a video on how to do it. There's really no reason. We have lots of success with clients that are not face to face. So,
Yep.
Basically, equipment in the house.
Hmm.
I stand on a vibe machine at least 10 minutes a day. That's a start. Now, in addition, I do a little bit of more than an hour lying down and stretching and doing things. Or I go outside and garden for an hour a day.
So, Dr. Shealy, do you think that part of that is you have figured out a way to make things very accessible to you? So
Yes.
you've taken out the hard part. You don't have to get in a car and go anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't have to go anywhere. It is infinitely important to have a schedule.
Yeah, and a schedule, a routine.
Yeah.
Creating habits.
Yes.
Yes.
Now you can do all kinds of more exotic things, skating or skiing or running, but you have to start somewhere.
Absolutely. It's just that first step. Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're feeling fine, you okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not feeling fine, you need to become okay.
And that's that first step, right? To becoming okay.
So how does one become okay? Let's just continue this for a little bit. There's actually what Dr. Shealy is looking at is one of our stress management cards. Would you like to hold that up a little bit? So we have that on the website. We're thinking of how to make this available to the public in general, to everyone who is interested. This is one of the keys to success in our practice, and it's literally our philosophy. Let's talk about that. How am I feeling right now? Let's say I'm feeling really good, great, fantastic. Okay, there's nothing for me to do. There's no problem solving here. Don't fix what ain't broken. Now, let's say something is not exactly right, or something leaves something to be desired. My question is, and this is all on a card there as a graphic kind of like just design reminder, can I do something to make it better? Can I change the position of the chair so that I'm more comfortable? If I can, I will. And now I'm feeling better, so that's great. Now I'm back to comfort. If I cannot do that, and I must maintain an uncomfortable position, at least what I can do is I can let go of the stress of or unhappiness of the situation, knowing that I'm doing all I can. Detach, let go. And that is one of the key principles. So do what you can and let go of all the rest, and have the wisdom to know the difference. That's
So the detaching and the letting go is all aspects, right?
Yes.
Because if you're on your journey to health and you've started a process and you fall off the wagon, you get back on. We watch toddlers learn to walk, and when they fall down, they don't throw up their hands and say, "Oh well, I guess I'll just crawl forever." No, they just get up and they do it again, and they fall down and they do it again, and eventually, after they've fallen down enough, they learn to walk.
And interestingly enough, at the end of the journey, human journey, the cycle tends to repeat again.
Well, and then there you are.
But it's interesting polarity of life. But please go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, when you fail, you also have to detach from the failure and just look at it objectively and say, okay, this is where I am. I can be honest and frank with myself, and I'm okay with this is where I am. And now here I will start.
How do you work on or with clients who feel guilty, or who have fallen off the wagon and they're just ashamed, so to speak?
Yeah, so that one we have to do maybe a little more. Our conversations get less into actionable goals and more into what's the thought process and how do we redirect those thoughts, and then we take it from there. And I will also say, that if you are on this journey, it is so helpful if you can find a partner or someone who wants the same goal as you, because there is power in numbers. And especially when I work with clients that are married and they're both on the same page, the results are always, they're exponential. So they're faster, they're better, but they're a team and they're pulling together. And I do work with clients whose spouses are not on the same page and they can still do it, but it does feel a bit more of a struggle for them.
I notice my wife and I are very competitive with each other in some ways, and we work out together. We have a regimen that in the mornings that
Yes.
So if there's days that I don't feel like getting up, but I see her going, I'm like, no, you're not going. Yeah, I'm not staying behind here. And same way, it's if I get going, it's like it's like Lindy would say, for example, nah, I don't feel like it, and then 5 minutes later she's already dressed and ahead of me. But that's so we kind of help each other move along.
It's a healthy level of competition.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a fun thing. So yeah, if you have somebody that's pushing you and cheering for you, that makes a big difference. And sometimes I'm that person for the client, and I am, because trust me, I want to see them succeed. Like that, nothing brings me greater joy than seeing someone get their health back. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't be in the space with these two amazing people. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
Love the company. We got 2 minutes left, so we'll just go for a little bit. I did want to mention briefly our friends and supporters at Spring Valley.
Yes, in today's world, we must require supplements. And the place to get them is Spring Valley, because the best service in Springfield is infinitely better at Spring Valley than anywhere else I know. You walk in the door and somebody comes to help you. You've got at least 10,000 items there. You can't find 10,000 items in any amount of time. So you ask for what you do and you get it. Now, we carry a lot of things like our bliss oils and magnesium lotion, but the most important thing is, in general, ask and retrieve.
Yeah.
Now, in addition, I like a lot of variety. I do the gadgets because I like them, but a whole hour in the garden is just weeding, and all it takes is weeding. Do.
I couldn't keep up with you. I mean, I tried. After half an hour, I called it quits. I mean,
I hear maybe there should be a weeding competition. I don't know. And then you come to my garden next, okay?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But that's hard work. Yeah. 30 seconds left.
And the schedule is determined by you.
One more thing I'd like to say, nutrition-wise, if you don't get your servings of fruits and veggies, make sure you at least have the tart cherry juice concentrate. It is great for your health, lowers cholesterol, does so many good things, and tastes great.
It's available in the produce department at real grocery stores. It tastes wonderful. It's good for you. I just ordered 2 more quarts.
Voice you can trust, like
Hugh Hewitt.
Good morning, Glory America. I'm Hugh Hewitt at Studio North.
The Fox News Rundown.
Shannon Bream.
I'm Bill Hemmer.
I'm Kennedy, and this is the Fox News Rundown.
While we're here, we'll keep talking. Facebook Live, YouTube Live, as long as technology is still there with us, we will continue on. All right. Amazing. So, for the benefit of the listener of the online audience, let's continue talking. So, we started talking about the issues when people fall off the wagon, so to speak, or whatever other terms that people use for that. Now, those zigzags, the zag, so to speak, in other words, going backwards, to me, and I've always seen that as a huge positive if you can make use of that. And how do you make use of that? Basically, it's like sports. I started on a swim team, for example, and the first couple of competitions, all I did was I drank water on the way from one side pool to the other. I mean, I wanted to be in every competition, even though I wasn't fit, and I did. I talked my way into it. So as time went on, I actually started winning prizes. It's again, it's a learning process. It's a work. It's a work of
Well, and sometimes we learn best from our failures. I mean, I can
Yeah.
speak from my own personal experience of, running. One of my big goals was to qualify for the Boston Marathon, which eventually I did get there. But every marathon that I didn't qualify, which it felt like a failure at the time, and after you spent that many miles on your feet not to do what you want to do, it's real hard to stomach that, especially your poor spouse who's been out there watching you for hours. But anyway, but after after every failure, I've gone back, I've learned, I figured out what I did wrong. I know so much. If somebody needs coach to Boston, I can help you. And I have helped people do that because I have learned from every single failure. And those lessons I have taken with me, I'm not going to forget those lessons because they're the painful ones. And, sometimes you get the test first and the lessons later. And
But the question is, what are we learning?
right.
Are we learning to repeat the same patterns and get to the same conclusion, even though it's not optimal or terrible? Or can we learn from our mistakes?
Right, because as soon as you learn from your mistakes, then you know how to go back and do things differently. And
Or-
once you learn how to do them differently, that's where the success comes in.
You can even take it a step further if you're really smart about this. Learn from other people's mistakes.
Oh, absolutely.
And the problem is going to gym.
Hmm.
You spend more time going to the gym and coming home from the gym, and you don't do anything of exercise. Now, I played racquetball for a number of years. It's a great sport, but most gym exercise is not worthwhile. It's a waste of time.
I'm glad you brought that up because we actually have a client who I met with this week, and one of her big bottlenecks was finding time to exercise. And as we went through together and evaluated her day, we realized there's about an hour in there that really does work for her, but she's gonna go ahead and do it at home because that's how we maximize time. I'm not opposed to gym exercise. I'm a gym rat. I like the gym, but it's also a social time for me. My friends are there, it's a little different. But, for someone that needs to just figure out how to fit exercise into their day, yeah, being able to do it from home, just get up, go, make it happen. And I promise you, if it's important to you, you do have the time.
And by the way, I do want to say I've got about 2 gym memberships that I still think
One
that
of those
are
is
on.
my fault.
Great places. Don't get me wrong, but what's practical, and in our what we're doing is what's practical, and it's basically calisthenics and working with we have some equipment in our house.
But you figured out for you to be
Yeah.
consistent, you needed to work out from home.
I can't.
Yeah.
I've got to be home. That's right. Yeah.
And so that works for Dr. Shealy. That works for you. I know for me, I despise working out at home. I like a group atmosphere. I like the energy of other people around me working out. So that's what works for me. And that's what makes me do it. But everyone's got their own, their own thing that's going to work for them. And we just have to find it.
Yep. Let's now.
Getting ready to come back in.
Okay, we're getting ready to come back. How much time we have?
15 seconds.
15 seconds. I'll just say this then. We got a Labor Day sale. The code is LD22. 15% off any order over $100.
Now back
And
to
that
Wellness
includes Dr.
Wednesday
Shealy's
with Dr.
books,
Norman
which
Shealy
talk all
and
about
Dr.
lifestyle
Sergey
and
Leo
beyond,
Shealy-Sorin.
and much, much more. And we're about to come back. Hello. So this is the second part of the radio show. This is where we're going to put our headphones back on so
Okay.
that we can answer questions. And the number to call is
417-447-1777.
And in the meantime, if we have the opportunity to keep on talking, of course, we're going to keep on talking. So, Dr. Shealy, you've been, we've been listening more so than talking, but what's your perspective on this whole thing? Healthy lifestyle. And let's talk about from what you've seen over the past 40 years plus.
Well, of course, I've been horseback riding for years. and that's good exercise, but you can't do it every day. I have variety in what I do. I love gadgets. I've just half a dozen gadgets is adequate at home, but you can do a lot without going to gym.
And that's how you've been basically keeping fit your whole life.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh, I've got a question for you, and I want to see if you still feel the same way. Remember how you say that it's only 2.3% of all people, all around in the U.S. at least, have all 5 health habits and are health conscious. Remember that statement that you
Yes.
normally make?
And interestingly, only 2.5% get adequate exercise. Only 2.5% get adequate exercise. You are wasting your life without exercise.
And as many people that have sleep insomnia type issues, they will find that exercise is the great antidote to that.
Yes.
It's also fantastic for constipation, for metabolism, for mood. How much time do we have to talk about the benefit of exercise? I think we could take the whole
We
hour.
could spend a lot of time on that. And,
Yeah.
I think one thing for someone that's struggling getting started with exercise is they need to not be afraid to play around to find what they like. Because
Exactly.
ultimately, exercise should feel like play. It should be fun. You might, getting started, you might not want to do it. But once you're in it, you should feel joy.
And the other thing I'm going to say is make sure that you do the exercise and activity that you love. For example, Dr. Shealy and I have slightly different interests in life, slightly. Dr. Shealy's been a gardener his whole life, and his gardening skills, oh my God, it's incredible. I cannot keep up with him there. I literally cannot. I'm not kidding. Now, on the other hand, for me, it's been other types of activities and sports. So martial arts for me has been my pinnacle of what excites me, and that's what gets me back to fitness. Whenever I got injured and I couldn't move properly, that was my motivation. I want to be able to move and utilize my body to have the mastery over my body, not to have a mastery necessarily of somebody else's, but to be able to control myself. And that's always been my quest in life ever since I was a little kid. And so martial arts to me has been that. But Dr. Shealy would not do martial arts if he got free classes. And all the time in the world, he just
a
wouldn't
waste of time.
Exactly. So and here we are, both holistic physicians.
Well, that actually makes me think of a phrase. So you need to do and find what you like, and don't put the pressure on yourself to just do things that you don't enjoy. Find what you enjoy, because I don't know if you've ever heard the expression, are you shoulding all over yourself?
Yes.
I should do this and I should do that. But, it needs to be, I get to do this and I can do that. And when you shift that perspective, it brings a lot more joy. But you have to do the things that you do enjoy.
Now, the other thing about the statement should and could and would, a lot of those things I have an issue with. Because should, well, why aren't you?
Right.
Could, well, why didn't you? Right? Or why didn't I? And what was the other one?
Would.
Yeah. That one is just.
I would, but there's always the but.
And then
right?
there's a but. Yeah.
Yeah. There's also and I'm sure I am messing this up, but there's a proverb or it's a Chinese proverb, I think. I'm not sure background, but basically it is to know and not do is to not know. And so you can know and say all the things should, could, would, but if you're not doing them, it's just the same as not knowing.
Right.
Yeah.
Although the exercise of talking, that's a little bit of activity, right?
And it's time to ask questions.
Number is 417-447-1777. And again, if we have a little time to talk, I do want to say this. There is a Labor Day sale, ends this Friday. The code is LD22, 15% off on any order over $100, including all the healthy lifestyle support, education, and, everything, literally. we still have a little time. So let's talk, Rachel. Let's talk about. Let's continue talking about some of the pitfalls and some of the highlights of what successes. And let's talk more about the successes.
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
this reminds me, and literally reminds me, when I was going through colon cancer stage 3+, I was told at one point by the first oncologist that came in, you got a 95% chance of being dead, no matter what, including chemo and radiation and all that stuff. And so my question to him, or I'm pretty sure I said that, what about the other 5%? And when I didn't get when he continued on his path, I literally told him to go, somewhere. So the idea is, let's focus on the positive.
Mm-hmm. And I am a firm believer that the body can heal itself, and if you give it the right tools and equipment, then you look at acrobats and athletes and the amazing things that the human body is capable if you put in the time and the dedication, and if it becomes a priority. So as soon as we can prioritize something, and not everybody needs the same priorities. So, sometimes it could be exercise is a lack in your life, but also sometimes it could be we're looking at, are you not sitting down when you're eating your food? Are you up rushing around all the time eating your food? Well, you're not even giving your body a chance to do what it needs to do. I mean, we should be eating in a relaxed manner, letting our digestive hormones to give time to kick in. So it's the one little thing. Like if I were to, start with a client, what we would do is we would track. We would talk about what we thought we needed to track first, and then what we focus on expands. So depending on what we're tracking, we work to improve that.
I have a call.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You're on the air.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, I wanted to ask Dr. Shealy a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm on blood thinners.
Okay, yep.
Okay. I read about the PMF, and it says it will help your circulation.
Yes,
So,
circulation, yes.
will that be safe
Yes,
for me to
ma'am.
use?
The question is, so the young lady was mentioning, I am on blood thinners. Is PEMF safe? Our PEMF, at least, because there's many different types.
Yes.
Our is a low
y'all.
amplitude, and the only thing that I would consider is this is a general wellness device. In other words, very low. Basically, the only thing we can say about the risk is if a person has an implantable, let's say, pacemaker with a battery that can potentially not going to hurt the person, but there is a slight academic possibility it may influence the pacer. It hasn't yet so far. But also pregnancy, we cannot say anything in pregnancy. It's just too many things can happen. So we can't say anything about pregnancy, about any of our things that we recommend. So, but basically it should be safe and shouldn't be a problem. And yes, it does help with the circulation, especially in the first mode. Dr. Shealy, would you say the sweep mode would be best?
In general, the sweep mode is good.
And so that's setting number one. Now, setting number two, gamma, is interesting because I've had some reports and some feedback stating that it may have other benefits other than optimizing the brain. And actually, one of our associates, Dr. Ryan Welton, he is a physical therapist, has done a lot of fascinating discoveries with the device, including the gamma, as well as delta. Delta is to relax, relax and just kind of calm down. But I hope I answered your question.
Okay, let me say one more thing, please. A friend of mine said they looked it up on the internet, and it said if you got on blood thinner, don't use it.
It depends. It's not a contraindication for that. Some models, I've seen some PEMFs out there, and there's some that are, especially the older made, but there's some newer ones too, high amplitude. I would not get on them if I had any kind of serious cardiac condition for extended period of time. Some of them are recommended for maybe 5 to 10 minute stops. Some are recommended for just a couple of minutes because the output is so strong. In other words, what we're talking about is a subtle energy device, subtle,
Okay.
zero
Yeah,
point
well,
0.2 gauss. So that makes a difference in that.
okay, but y'all should be safe.
That one is. There's other devices. Again, there's other specifications. I can tell you about what I know. That's that.
Yeah, well, I'm not looking at the other ones, just y'all. One more thing, and I'll hang up.
Yes, ma'am. That's right.
The yellow circle round thing, like you put on your back, is it supposed to get hot?
Okay, I'm sorry. Say again. The ring.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, yeah, the coil. The coil can warm up a bit if it becomes excessively warm, or if any questions. And there's a little magnet that you can test out that if it works or not, because it's an electromagnetic device. It's not electricity; it's magnetism. So that's why it doesn't hurt when you touch it to your skin. There's no sensation other than just the ring itself, and the little magnet will actually do a little dance. It'll vibrate there, but. If the coil begins to become excessively warm or overheat, it may be something. Well, that's when it's going to be best to contact where you purchased it, whether it could be the store or the clinic. But just contact the same folks and just feel free to ask the question. We'll address it.
And I've never used.
I wanted to make sure. I knew someone. They said theirs was getting hot, and I said,
if any questions, hey, we can always, you can send it in and we can check it out and we can see if it's all right. But Dr. Shealy was going to say something. Yeah.
I've never used a magnet.
Oh, you haven't? Yeah, it's a nice little.
5 years and no use.
Gotcha.
It's a waste of time.
Well, for Dr. Shealy, right?
What is the magnet for?
What's that, dear?
What is the magnet for?
Oh, I just use it from time to time to make sure the coil is doing good.
So it should move around.
A little bit. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank y'all very much. I appreciate it.
You got it.
Have a good one.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I call it a little magnet dance there, but he just
any other calls?
So basically, that was a question on PEMF and the safety. And again, just to summarize, the PEMF is one of our favorite things. It's a general wellness device. And it's safe. The benefits are, as we talked about, some of that, but also cellular regeneration, vascular, and otherwise many potential benefits where it may be helpful.
We get a lot of calls at the clinic asking about it. And so they want to ask about my own personal use because I sit on one all day at the clinic.
Yeah.
And I'm very blessed because I don't have any issues. But one of the things I noticed when I first started using it was how it had improved my workouts. So, that's something people, if they're questioning it or wanted to know, I'm like, that is an extra little benefit.
But that makes sense too, because this is talking about the cellular optimization battery recharger, so to speak, for the trillions of cells. So let's say, Dr. Shealy, one of the things that I love talking to you about things, and it's actually it's almost like a comedy show at times. Somebody would bring something, a device or something to you, or another new supplement, and how do you like it? Did it do anything for you? Nope. But then you ask a question. Did you have any questions? But how are you feeling now? Great. How did you feel before that? Great. Always feeling great. So Dr. Shealy is not a good tester for things at this point because he's feeling too good.
Choose your weapon.
Exactly. Your weapon has always been wellness, health, and lifestyle.
Yes.
First and foremost. And then, of course, there's supplements, of course, that we need. And then there's stress management. And speaking of stress management, one of the best tools, one of the best techniques to reduce stress actually was developed by Dr. Shealy right here. And it's biogenics. Biogenics is a complete self-regulation, resetting, retraining, but it's got to be trained. It's not something that sits on a shelf. It's a program over 68 various exercises. I had several conversations with clients today. They got the whole Biogenics program. They're so excited, and it was a couple of months ago. And then I asked, so how do you like the program? How, with any questions? Oh, we haven't done it yet. We haven't started. It doesn't work if you don't do it. It's a wonderful program, but it's literally a lifetime of work by Dr. Shealy, biogenicscourse.com, condensed in a online at your pace program. Literally self-regulation, resetting, learning what is your body, how to work with it, and how to optimize it. And interestingly enough, a lot of folks are just content to have it but not use it. So please use it. If you have it, use it. And if you don't have it, please consider getting it.
Interestingly, you can do all kinds of exercise with or without the gadgets. But I sleep with it 8 hours a night.
PEMF?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't use it during the day because I don't need it during the day.
Yeah.
But halitosis is better than no breath at all.
Oh, yeah. One of our favorite sayings.
Yes.
By the way, you've made a tremendous recovery. So for anyone out there who has seen Dr. Shealy maybe a couple of episodes ago, when he wasn't literally at his best, this is a tremendous, tremendous progress. And you're doing incredibly well, general health-wise. Now, let's just kind of talk about this briefly. So you're not seeing patients at the clinic now, right?
No.
Okay, because right now the focus is on health, and of course you continue to do research. I mean, you continue to look at the computer, emails, things like that. But at this point, we just the goal is just to sort of retire from the clinical duties. Well, although not from the radio, please, because this is too much fun. How are you feeling about this whole situation, and how are you still making progress towards health? Are you improving?
Excellent.
Yeah. I'll tell you, it is incredible how Dr. Shealy has made a comeback. I think there's been about 4 or 5 times that you could have been you could have left this earth, so to speak, real close. And each and every time it's a miraculous recovery. To what degree do you attribute lifestyle and what you do and the foundation?
100% attitude.
Attitude is everything.
Mm.
Yeah.
Let's talk about attitude.
Well, attitude is positive and productive, and you never give it up.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't give it up at all.
Do you think part of that is not having a victim mentality?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm.
Being empowered and knowing
Yeah.
you have control.
And this is where I want to take it back to the concept of the holistic blueprint. We talk about this all the time: spirit, soul, mind, body. We're spiritual beings. There's a soul expresses itself through the mind, mental, emotional, and thoughts, feelings, and then into the physical form, patterns. And this is where we get lifestyle. This is where we get all these things. But what people forget, and this is where the holism part of this comes in, is that everyone, almost everyone in the professional world, and most people in society focus on the physical. My body, my arms, my legs, my pain, this and that, identities, all kinds of labels, stamps. I'm a diabetic. I'm a hypertensive. This, that. It gets a lot worse than that. The short of it is this. The very short of that. You've got to take responsibility. That's the bottom line. I am responsible. I have this blueprint. I have the capacity to be okay. I have the capacity to be aligned. I have the capacity to live a good, healthy, beautiful, and enjoy my lifestyle, my life. Family, the relationships, it's all possible. We're the ones that stand in our own way. And so what needs to happen is the control center, the mental, emotional, and otherwise, that's one of the layers that's got to be present. How many, and I'll ask Rachel as well, how many people who are doing physical things but are not mentally properly there, how many of them succeeded long term?
Oh, they don't.
They don't.
It doesn't work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also when you do succeed with the physical, a lot of times that opens you up to be more in tune with the spiritual and the mental, and it just leaves space for other things. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So this is the whole concept that fitness and wellness is not a luxury; it's a birthright. I'll say it again. It's our birthright. Most babies are born okay, and then we develop bad habits.
You know, that makes me think of a story when I was in my early 20s, and I was teaching at the time, so I come from a teaching background. But I remember sitting next to a teacher who was probably mid 40s, and I was probably the size I am now, but she said, "Oh, well, when you get to my age, you won't look like that." And I thought, "What in the world? Do you not know you have control of that? That's a choice. That's not a victim thing." Anyway, sorry.
Absolutely. Again, that's what it's all.
Halitosis is better than no breath at all.
That's
Oh
right.
yeah. So here's the bottom line, and we got 2 minutes to kind of summarize things, and we can if there's any questions, we can stay a little bit behind, after the radio officially, and stay on the Facebook Live, YouTube Live. And by the way, anyone who's listening to us on the radio and you're not watching us on the online, again, I'm not saying online is my favorite thing in the world, especially in light of what's happening in the world, but it is a good way to share information. So if you find this helpful, I would like for you to kind of to spread it and let other people know about this, because this is literally the truth. We are speaking the truth as we know it, and the truth is very hard to find these days. Truth, light, and love, positivity. That's what it's all about. So if you can help us spread this message, let's do that. And last but not least, one of the most important things, well, light, love, and freedom. Freedom from medical needs, freedom from all sorts of external circumstances, freedom to be your best self. And that's what it's all about. Holism. Be your best self. Essential part of it, healthy lifestyle. This is what today's radio is all about. And we'll continue more on this and, of course, other topics. Rachel, any other thoughts?
Just thank you for having me. And I just want people to know that they really do truly have the power to change their lives.
And the time has come.
Absolutely. And the time is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, I've been getting a lot of requests asking Rachel to become a permanent member of the radio broadcast.
It's a lot of pressure. I don't know
or
about
as much
that.
as possible, I should say, when of course possible. And would love to have you.
Thanks for having me.
All right. And we'll see you next week for another Wellness Wednesday, where we're going to follow up with another important topic and more for your health.
Okay, we're clear from the radio.
Mm-hmm. Now, we have an option of addressing online if there is any thoughts, questions, requests, or hellos.
We had two questions, actually.
Two questions.
One lady's asking, she just said, talk about carbohydrates.
Oh,
I'm assuming she means like daily, what
Sure.
daily carbohydrates should be.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the first question, I just want to say this out loud.
Yeah.
It's a very good question, real good question. Thank you. Let's talk about carbohydrates. Now, Dr. Shealy, I know what your opinion is. Go ahead, please.
No carbohydrates. No sugar.
No
potato.
processed.
I don't eat the junk.
Yeah. Now, Rachel.
well, so I do agree that we don't want to be eating the junk, the processed sugar. That should never have any place in your diet. A lot of times when we do eat potatoes, they're cooked and fried in inflammatory omega-6 oil. So, I mean, they're not good either. Now, I think this is where the education piece comes in, and people need more time, just because we do have complex carbs, simple carbs. And, when you're looking at, fruit is a carb, vegetables are carbs, but this is where you need to understand how fiber comes into play, net carbs versus total carbohydrate intake, and what your needs are. Because if you're, when I'm running 70 miles in a week, I can eat that. I don't eat the processed carbohydrates. I mean, sometimes, but not that much. But, if you are on a weight loss journey and you have, type 2 diabetes, you don't, there's no place for them, that you don't need them. So really just, it depends. And there needs to be, I can make a whole video about this. So
Actually, we should.
yeah. Well, actually,
Yeah.
if people are interested in being part of my study, that will be part of it. So
Please,
can I do a real quick, if you have metabolic syndrome, which metabolic syndrome is only having 3 of these 5 things. You do not have to have them all. So either high LDL cholesterol, low HDL cholesterol, some kind of blood sugar dysregulation. So that could be hemoglobin A1C. It could be high fasting blood glucose in the morning.
Or even pre-diabetes.
Yes, absolutely. Or if you have high blood pressure. So, or did I just say waist circumference? I can't remember.
Nope.
Okay. Or if you have a high waist circumference. So 35 for a female, 44 male. So if you have 3 of those things and are interested, the study is going to basically be through education. How can we change your lifestyle and your choices and things like that? So yeah, let me know. Sending that one out there. If you want to be part of it, let us know.
And one more question.
Yes. I'll have to read it. My total cholesterol is 163. My LDL is 104. My HDL is 38. It should be 50. How can I raise my HDL?
HDL. Okay, so there's a couple of things. One that comes to mind off the top is niacin. Niacin actually comes as a supplement, but it's also actually I'm trying to remember if that's actually a prescription or not. I think you can get that without.
Yes.
Money. Yeah.
Without.
So the other, what are your thoughts?
Well, I don't think about it. I do it.
Let's actually sorry. Just in case let's for clarity, let's repeat the question, please, and let's just one more time.
My total cholesterol is 163.
So with the focus here, because I want to look at all the numbers, this is the holistic approach and perspective. Normally, you would look at each one individually, but look at the entire thing. The whole panel is beautiful. The whole panel looks good. So as a total picture, it looks really good. Now, low HDL is a protective factor, or something that is. It keeps you in a better place otherwise, metabolically, vascular. In that case, if you wanted to improve that, there's 2 things that I personally recommend and I use. One is a TMG, trimethylglycine, which is, if you have 3 meals a day, that's 2 grams 3 times a day. And basically, the other one is lecithin granules, although I'm not sure if lecithin will do much for the HDL as it will for the other components of the cholesterol.
It's better.
It may do something.
In the whole.
Yeah. So, and as Dr. Shealy said, just do it. Just move forward with a holistic perspective and aspect, because without addressing the holistic, the lifestyle, stress management, and all these things, no matter what you do, the cholesterol is going to continue to be reactively wrong.
Yes.
Off. And that's until you fix your core foundation.
Right. Diet also plays, which goes in the whole holistic stress and all of that stuff. Correct. Yeah.
And to next week, have a good one.
Take care.